What's going on, everybody? Zane here, back with another video. For this one, we got question number 202, which is happy number on Leetcode. So we need to write some algorithm to determine whether or not a number that we're given is happy. A happy number is essentially going to be its numbers, like if there was a number 1, 9, its numbers 1 and 9. If we just square those two numbers and then add them together, if that will eventually get to a point where it'll endlessly loop or it'll end in a 1. So here's what I mean. If we look at this example of 19, we've got 1 and 9. So if we do 1 squared plus 9 squared, that'll be 82. That's our next number. So our next number after that would be 8 squared plus 2 squared, which is 68. Then 6 squared plus 8 squared, 100. And then finally, we've got 1, 0, 0. So 1 squared will be 1 plus 0, 0 squared and 0 squared again. It'll be 1. So that'll eventually get to a point where the value or the sum will be stuck at 1. Then the other example here is where n is equal to 2. So 2 sum is going to be 2. 2 squared is going to be 4. Then 4 squared. It'll just continuously increase, and it'll stop at obviously the maximum value here. But that's what they mean by endlessly in the cycle. So how are we going to tackle this? Well, we actually kind of got the answer here. The first step is to really get the next number. So in order to get the next number, we can actually create a helper function for that. And for me, I'm actually happy that I said helper function, because before I was a little confused as to when people said helper function. Oh, damn, like I don't know what a helper function is, but essentially you're creating another method, another function that will do something for you without having to constantly copy the same amount of code here. So I can do something here, then do something again and again and again and again, but instead of doing that, I could just create a function to do something that can be called once. So instead of us calling it 1,000 times, we'll create a function that will do something for us. So let's create a function to first, before we even deal with if it's happy or not, let's figure out how can we get the next number. So I'll create another function here, private, and we're going to return an int, get next number. And this is going to take in some number. Now, what exactly do we need to do to get the next number? Well, we need to first take the last digit, and, well, it wouldn't necessarily be the last digit, but we'll get all the digits, and we'll add it to sum. So let's just create a sum variable and initialize it to 0. And we'll say that while we need to run a while loop, so whilst the number is greater than 0, we need to continuously do something. So we want it to continuously run in through this while loop until we get to a point where the number is now 0. So that means we've got our sum or got our value, whatever. So in order to get the digit on the far right, we should know that to get that digit, it would just be the number mod 10. So now that is our number on the right side. Now, in order to eliminate that number, we could just say num is just going to equal num divided by 10. So now that number has been accounted for and has now been removed. And we could do now is we can add our number to, or our sum is going to equal our digit times digit. So what we're doing here is we're extracting the digit. We're then removing it from our numbers num, and then we're adding it, we're setting it to our sum. And I think what we need to actually do here is we're going to add these. So we don't want to just set it to sum. And then once that is summed up, it'll continuously run through this. And then we'll get to a point where we could just return our sum. Now this is going to get our next digit. So now up here, how can we tackle whether or not something is happy? So first off, what we need to do is we need to establish what we're going to use to solve this. So when it comes to endlessly looping or a cycle or doing something constantly until we get to a point where things are done, that's always a while loop for me. So while something, do something. So in this while loop, we want to make sure that n is not going to be 1. So while n does not equal 1, And what else? Well, we need to think about what values we can store in some data structure to account for it either being endless or if it was already accounted for. So what we could do is we can actually create a set. So let me create that first, and it should make sense afterwards. I'm going to make a new hash set here, and I'm going to say that while n does not equal 1, otherwise we'd break out of this loop, and the set does not contain the number, then we can continuously loop through, which is going to be now, we'll add the value of n here, and now n has been added to our set. Now, once that's been added, what we could do now is we'll grab the next number. So we can just do get next number n, and we'll say that n is going to equal that next number, and then continuously go through. So this is what I meant by doing one function. Otherwise, we'd have to copy all this and put this here, which is a little bit messy. And then we'll continuously have it get the next number, add it to our set, get the next number. And as long as it's not in the set, that means that it's infinitely looping. And as long as n does not equal 1, that means it'll never get to a 1. Now, if it does get to a 1, then okay, then it's happy. So just return n equals 1. So let's run this, see what we get, and submit. That's it. So let me recap real quick. So our first step was to get the next number. We're not even dealing with whether or not it's happy. Our next number is essentially going to be a while loop that we constantly perform. We'll extract the digit using the modulus. We'll now set number to be num divided by 10, so that we've already accounted for that digit on the right side. So now we can just remove it from the right side. And then we'll say that the sum is going to be whatever digit is squared, because that's how we get our next number. We'll take the digit, square it, plus take the digit, square it. Once we do that, sorry, I lost my audio there. Once we do that, we'll add it to our sum, and then we'll return our sum at the very bottom. Once we've done that, then all we need to do now is account for two things. The number is going to be happy if it's going to be endlessly looping, or if it ends in 1. So as long as n does not equal 1, we can run a while loop. And as long as the set does not contain the value, we'll add the number to our set, and then we'll get the next number and continuously iterate. As long as it's not in the set and n does not equal 1, that means it'll continuously loop, or if it ever jumps out, return whether or not n is equal to 1. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, hit that like and subscribe button, show me some love, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.